it's more than a page, is that okay?
Yes, it probably will end up being more than a page. All right. Defense, your line of questioning. Time has begun.
We'd like to call Odysseus.
Odysseus, please report to the stand. Odysseus, what is the epithet you've made for yourself?
Hero of Ithaca.
All right, please raise your right hand. Odysseus, hero of Ithaca, do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you Zeus?
I do.
You may be seated.
So, Odysseus, what is your definition of a hero?
Well, a hero is, by the definition of the Greeks and Antonio del Drago, someone who is courageous, sacrificial, wounded, skilled, and destined. And then that goes into more detail, saying undergoes physical suffering, defender of his own honor, strong in that of a mortal, practiced soldier of war, accepting of all challenges despite disaster. And I think that one is one of the most important qualities out of all of them.
Can you give 3 situations when you saved your crew?
As stated before, and with the Cyclops, in a situation where my men were in danger, and where he specifically stated that he intended to kill all of us, and then myself last, I came up with an idea with the help of Athena to help all of my men escape and put them in front of me and exited last to ensure that all of my men were able to escape on the underside of the sheep, and then for me to follow behind them. When I allowed them to make their own decisions, as a leader should, so that they can learn when they should do certain things, and I allowed them to go into Circe's house. When Eurylochus came back running to me because they had all been turned to swine, it was I who entered in there and convinced her to turn them back. And then when we were in the underworld and we were attempting to summon Tiresias, I took the harder task of defending them from the spirits in order to keep them safe and let them do easier things that didn't put them in any danger.
What was your incentive when you saved your crew, and what was your overall mindset during this trip?
I took the mindset of putting their lives before my own in order to get us all home, because that was our overall motive, was for as many people as possible to return home. And in situations where it was impossible for everyone to survive, I tried to put the lives of my crew as a whole over individual lives, including over the life of my own. And I just, from loyalty to my crew members, is what inspired me to lead them the way I did.
Can you explain what others say is your lack of faithfulness during your trip?
Others tend to say that my lack of faithfulness takes away from my actions as a hero, and while I do openly regret the decisions that I made, I also would like to explain them as Greek culture, especially seen among heroes and gods, with an example of Zeus cheating on Hera repeatedly, and that was something that happened, and my actions were not out of a lack of love for Penelope, but also a means of survival, because Calypso could have killed me had I not followed her rules, and had I not gone with Circe and did what I did with her, we may never have found the information we needed to go to the underworld and to speak to Tiresias. And then this is my rock that I carved my initials and Penelope's initials into when I was on Calypso's island, and it's just a demonstration of the fact that I was not doing any of the things I did from ill intent to her, because I always loved her, but it was for my own safety and survival.
Would the witness please read the text upon their rock?
It says O plus P, eternal love, and it stands for Odysseus and Penelope.
And at the very bottom it's a?
Eternal, that's a heart.
Okay.
What did you think when you passed Scylla and Turbotus when you sacrificed a few men?
The mindset was that Scylla could only kill 6 of my men because it only had 6 heads, but had we gone through Charybdis, the chances of our ship being destroyed, as later seen when my piece of wood was destroyed and I was left hanging from a tree, all of my men could have died there, and instead of taking that risk, I would rather have attempted to fight off Scylla and been prepared to do so, but also only put 6 lives at risk instead of all of my men.
Did you realize that you were putting yourself in danger the whole time in order to save your men?
In the heat of the moment, it's not something that a leader, as a leader and a practice hero of war, you recognize that it's a dangerous situation, but more of a necessity and something that has to happen. Because of the gifts that I was given and the support from the gods, I knew I was the best equipped to lead these situations and be the ones in the hardest, most dangerous spot. So I always had to put myself there, even if it put myself at risk.
And finally, do you feel like a coward anytime during your trip?
I do not.
That's all you're doing.
No further questions? Thank you. Your witness.
voyage, how do you justify leaving your son and wife for 20 years?
It was something that had to be done, and I attempted to get out of it by feigning lunacy, but I was unable to do so, and as I was called upon the other kings, it could have put my wife and my son in more danger.
What's your objection, sir?
I don't really know how this is relevant during this trial.
It was not discussed. You mean it wasn't discussed during the examination?
Yeah.
Sustained. You cannot bring up information that was not brought up during the examination the first time.
On Odysseus Island, how do you justify disregarding your locus and putting them in a dangerous situation as well as your crew?
One of my main goals as a leader was to allow my men to know when to make decisions, whether they be right or wrong. And by allowing them to do so, they were able to learn the best way to do things. And so it was kind of just allowing them to have free will, because a leader that leads with an iron fist only leads to more things against him and makes the crew hate him. So that was a learning experience for them. And despite the death of some of them afterwards, no one died from that situation, and they were able to discover when they should follow my rules and when they're able to make certain decisions.
When you said that you gave your crew free will, did you ever take them up on their advice? Like whenever your locus was saying maybe not enter the cave because you realized something was wrong with Circe?
Well, I took it into consideration. I also also had my own ideas that I felt as a more experienced leader were the better decision. And when entering the Cyclops cave, my mindset was that had he followed Greek Xenia, how it should have been done, then it could have lessened or shortened our trip by almost 9 years, because then we could have had safer passage home, and it was a more noble thing to do than to steal his food and leave.
All right. Also, during their questioning, they mentioned that you saved your men. But was that really the work of the gods? Hermes giving you the drug that was resistant to the potion of Circe, giving you free will?
As a god, Hermes wouldn't be willing to help someone who was a lesser man, and also, despite this, I could have chosen to be a coward and to not do it, because there was no way to prove that Hermes wasn't trying to hurt me as other gods had, and it might not have been successful. But because I knew it was a situation where I had to help my men, and I was willing to put my own life at risk for theirs and for the bettering of ourselves as a whole, it took courage from me, and yeah.
Right. How do you justify cheating on your wife with Circe?
It was necessary, and I knew that what she was capable of, and she could have killed any of my men at any given moment. And without me doing that, we never would have gotten the information we needed to leave, because I knew she was a goddess and that she could help me if I made her happy enough to be willing to do so.
While you spent the year on Circe's island with Circe and your crew, you did get hospitality, but do you also regret leaving your city for a whole nother year, putting them in the bad situation that we realized they were in? And also your mother passed away during the voyage. Was this year worth it for your crew?
Ultimately, I believe it was, because that was the way that we were able to get the information necessary to contact Tiresias, and without the help from Circe, which I may not have gotten had I left initially, we could have ended up with a voyage that killed all of us.
This was never brought up in their main examination. They just came up.
I agree, Counselor, but you need to do so earlier before we've already finished answering the question.
Sorry.
Overruled. Continue.
So where were we?
I don't know. Your questions.
Wait, were you still talking?
Oh
All
my
right,
God.
no further questions.
All right, thank you. You're dismissed. Next evidence/witness.
We would like to call Circe.
Circe, please step forward. A reminder that even if you've already hit your page, you're still going to take notes, because you have to take notes of the entire court proceedings. If you already hit your page of notes, you still have to keep taking notes. Yep. You gotta take a, oh, for sure. It's single space, baby.
You only need 1 page.
Minimum. But you have to cover the entire court proceeding. You don't have to include it. Circe! Order! Order in my courts. Circe ran out of the courtroom. She's run away. We've lost Circe. What is the epithet you created for yourself? Order in my court!
The almighty daughter of Helios.
Alright, please raise your right hand. Circe, the almighty daughter of Helios, just on this copy of the Odyssey, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you Zeus?
I do.
You may be seated.
So, seriously, what is your idea of what a hero is?
My idea of a hero is someone who's brave and courageous and has strength and who puts himself before his men. My bad. Who puts his men before himself and makes sacrifices.
In your opinion, do you think Odysseus qualifies for these traits of a hero?
I do think Odysseus qualifies these traits because he is a mortal who has been thrown so many hurdles and obstacles by gods and goddesses, and he's skipped so many tricky situations using his wits and his strength, and he has been courageous and brave.
Do you think Odysseus showed acts of heroism when he saved his men from your spells?
Yes, he did show heroism because no one else was able to save them. And knowing I was very powerful, he still showed bravery and faced me like a true warrior, unlike Eurylochus, who ran away asking his leader Odysseus for help.
What do you think Odysseus' main incentive was to save his men? What was his attitude like?
Can you repeat the question?
What was Odysseus' main incentive to save his men? What was his attitude like?
He was not a coward, and he was very brave, knowing that he was fighting against a much powerful force, and he sacrificed himself because he could have also died, and he saved his men.
Why did you choose to help Odysseus and direct him to the prophet?
I believe that Odysseus was a true hero, and he deserved to go home to Ithaca like he had been longing for.
Was it not reasonable for Odysseus to please you when you were going to turn his men into swine?
It
Counsel?
was.
Would you like to give more specifics to that question?
We can skip that one.
Sir?
So I would say that the question is too general.
So you're gonna say objection.
Objection, the question is too general.
Sustained. Please be more specific or move on, counselor.
Move on.
That's a good question.
We're about halfway through time, counselors, of the whole time for this.
What was Odysseus' main incentive and general feeling you got from him when he stood up to you and asked for his crew to be saved?
He was very brave, knowing that I was a goddess and he was not. He was immortal. So I could have turned him into swine too if he had not had his defense, the Molly. But I still could have done other things other than compel him. And he was very brave and courageous.
Can I just say an objection over an earlier question?
Yeah, it's already happened.
Okay. But like, I was just gonna say is that.
Nope, it's already happened. In the moments is when you object.
Okay.
Any further questions?
So if we go back to that one for the clarifying question. So if Odysseus did not bear a child with you or act to your will, is this not reasonable?
He should have he should have obeyed me because I could have not turned his men back into swine, and I could have also hurt him as a goddess who was more powerful. He should have obeyed me, he should have pleased me, he should have done what I told him to do, or he would face more difficulties and lead his men into more problems.
That's all you remember.
Alright, thank you. Your witness.
Wait, I have something that misquotes the witness or misstates prior evidence.
Alright.
Earlier we stated in the trial that Odysseus did not follow your orders. He went and actually listened to the hearings of Scylla. So how can you say that Odysseus followed your orders?
When was this evidence presented?
This was presented during his question of his trial with Calypso. What was the earlier question you stated?
The one I just asked?
Yeah.
You don't have to answer.
That was a question, not an objection. It's fine.
You're a witness.
The moment that Odysseus entered your cave, ignoring Eurylochus's response, we realized that you wanted to eat his men for food, actually. How did your feelings change for him as time went on?
Odysseus showed so much bravery and courage, unlike his men who had entered my cave, and he was different. He was charming and handsome, and he was so much better, and I believe that he deserved better. So I think he, as a hero, should have been saved.
Was Odysseus courageous, or was he just wanting to get food while not listening to Eurylochus? Was he wanting to get in, use your xenia before you treated him?
Where?
While you entered the cave, while Odysseus entered the cave, originally. Oh no, you're courageous, or was he just trying to use your xenia for food and leave?
Well, Odysseus didn't want food from him. He wanted to save his men. He was sacrificing himself for his men.
Right.
His men came in asking for food, but Odysseus didn't.
When Odysseus was sleeping with you, did he do this for his own good?
Just throw that out there. All right.
Well, I mean, I'm just kind of like stressed out right now. Did he do that for his own pleasure, or did he do that for the
Order in my court. Order, order.
Did he do this for his crew's well-being or his own?
He did it for his crew's well-being. I compelled him to do it.
Why did Odysseus betray you for Penelope? He earlier stated that he left you for the actual trial. Oh wait, sorry. I missed it.
Please scratch that from the record, jury. Thank you.
When Odysseus left, when Odysseus was using you instead of Penelope,
Checkers in. Go ahead.
when Odysseus playing checkers with you instead of Penelope, how do you justify this as an act? And does that display the traits of heroism?
Well, as I stated before, I did compel him because, like, he was so smart and handsome. I kind of wanted him for my own.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you. She's missed. All right. You're dismissed. Thank you. Calling Eurylochus to the stands. Eurylochus. Guess who's back? Back again.
Sorry, I had to adjust my outfit.
Oh, by the way, I forgot this.
That's why I'm mad at you.
I remind you, you're under oath. Counselor, if you could step forward at this time. Stop. Since he is dead, you have to do a summoning dance to get him to come out of the underworld. Not you, not you. You're the ghost. I need a summoning dance. Go. All right. And there, boom, ghost. Witness, I will remind you, you're still under oath. Thank you.
So, could you go more in depth about what you think a leader is?
Yes. So a leader is someone who has to do.
Professional knowledge. He isn't only supposed to be an expert on his testimony. He's not supposed to be talking about what a leader is actually supposed to be, since he's already stated that he's a coward. So he's not good. He's not a professional on leadership.
Sustained. Rephrase or move on, counselor. In your opinion as a crewmate, for example. What is a hero?
In your opinion? No, let's move on.
Okay.
Do you think Odysseus is a hero or not from your perspective as a crewmate?
I think he is a hero, because he has made many difficult decisions throughout the journey, like he has to keep us all safe, which was very hard, and like during the Cyclops, during the Sirens, down in the underworld, like many difficult, hard situations that I know I sure would not be able to handle. And I know that not any other mortal would just be able to do this. You would need a true hero to be able to lead a whole group of people to success and come out alive.
Can you describe what Odysseus did on the Cyclops Island?
Yes, so we went in looking for food, all hungry, and we found some food and cheese. We were on our way back out, but we were captured by the Cyclops, and we needed a way to get back out. And luckily, we had a hero on our side, Odysseus, and he did the best he could to get us out alive. And some men were sadly taken by the Cyclops, but Odysseus did everything he could and used his wisdom to get us out alive.
So, following up with that, do you think Odysseus showed courage by saving you and the rest of your men?
Oh yes, there's so much courage that is needed, and I'm just telling you right now, I do not have any courage, and if I was in that role of leadership, leading the crew, I'm telling you I would not be able to do it.
Following your journey.
Misquotes, objection. So,
Objection for misquote.
Denied.
Overruled. Overruled, counselor. Please be responsible with your objections. Thank you. Continue.
Following your journey, can you describe what Odysseus did on the Lotus Eaters Island?
Yes, so the crewmates and I were on the Lotus Eater Island, and there's Lotus Fires, man. That's so good. So we were there, but Odysseus came back on the island and realized that we needed to get back on our journey. And he had the responsibility of getting us all back on that ship, which is very hard to do because we did not want to leave. And I know I had different opinions and different decisions than Odysseus, but I knew that his role of leadership, he had to make the best decision possible to get us back on the ship and continue our journey.
Could you describe what Odysseus did on Circe's Island compared to what you did?
Yes, so I was a coward and I ran, and because I did not want to die. But Odysseus, being the great man that he was, he wasn't thinking about death at the moment. He wanted to save his crewmates, get everybody back on the ship, and he wasn't thinking about himself. All he wanted to do was get his crew safe so he could reach the end goal.
Why did you decide to sacrifice Helios's cattle when Odysseus warned you not to touch them?
So learning a lot about Odysseus throughout the journey. I thought that it was only right to eat the cattle because I did not want to die starving. But I learned through Odysseus and his inspiration of being a leader that this would be the best option for our crew to eat the cattle.
What did you feel like Odysseus' incentive was to keeping you alive and keeping the crew alive?
I think that he had to do whatever it took, even if that meant him dying, but he had to risk everything and do whatever it took to keep everybody alive.
Do you think Odysseus maintained this incentive to keep you guys alive?
Yes, I did.
That's it, Your Honor.
Thank you. Your witness.
On Circe's Island, yet again, why did you not follow Odysseus' orders? You were supposed to. Oh wait. What was running through your head when Odysseus denied your advice in Circe's cave?
Can you repeat?
When you offered Odysseus help to say not go into the cave, it could potentially be dangerous. What was running through your head when Odysseus denied that request?
Well, I knew that Odysseus, being the great leader he was, he had the best opinion, the best strategy, and I trusted him, and I knew that he had an idea going through his head, and I did not want to go in there because I was scared and I was worried. But I knew that he had a great plan, and he would follow it out.
If you are, in your own words, a coward, in the story it states that you're the second most powerful man beside Odysseus. How do you feel about being such a coward?
Well, it sucks, but sometimes, I try to work through these things, but if I'm a coward, then that's not my role. So I have to look up to Odysseus for inspiration that he provides, being a great leader, helping others, and reaching the end goal.
So if you were such a coward, then whenever you made the right choice, does Odysseus ever acknowledge that he put his crew in a potentially life-threatening situation without the help of the gods? Does he ever congratulate you for making the right choice?
Objection. This is irrelevant. There's nothing in case that was actually put in that was based off of assumption. There's no relevance. There's no evidence to back it up prior.
But they brought it up during their examination of him. You've recalled a witness.
Can you like
Restate the question?
Yeah.
Alright,
in like different like forms? Honestly.
on Circe's island, you made the right choice of telling Odysseus to not proceed through Circe's cave. Whenever Odysseus was there, he was in a life-threatening situation, and you were back on the boat. How did whenever you were there on the boat, did you ever wonder about Odysseus and how he was doing?
Yeah, I always wonder about how courageous decisions end up, even though life or death situation. But you know, it's his decision at the end of the day, and he's the leader. So I think that he'll always come out making the best decision possible.
You just said that Odysseus can make the best decision possible, but
Yeah.
if he would have followed your advice, his men would have never been turned to swine. He would have never faced a life or death situation without the help of the gods. How does this make you feel?
I mean, you know, like sometimes, you know, as I feel, I do not always like his decisions, but if he's the main leader, he makes decisions. I can't do anything about it, but that's why sometimes I don't like the decision he makes, and I think mine are better. But yet, I'm a coward. I'm scared. I don't know what's right, so that's why sometimes he makes mistakes. But you know, that doesn't define if he's a leader or not. Sometimes leaders make mistakes, but at the end up, he makes a positive attitude, makes everybody safe.
Whenever you say Odysseus makes everyone safe,
What's your final
whenever he
question?
was on the bag, whenever he was facing Celia for the first time, he never even wonders like, should I just take myself's life, or should I sacrifice 6 of my crew members like they're nothing? Is that keeping you guys safe?
Well, I don't think that he's just doing it like it's nothing. He's thinking of the whole picture. He's saying, should I take my whole crew and get sucked into a whirlpool where we could potentially die? All the crew members, where we could all die, but instead, I think the 6 men were his best strategy of getting most everybody out alive.
Final question, counselor.
Right. Whenever you say you're such a coward, does that ever insult you, or do you ever take that personally?
You know, it does hurt to be a coward. No one ever wants to be a coward, but because everyone wants to be a great man like Odysseus, great leader, always brave, courageous, and helping others toward positive success.
Prosecution rep.
We're out of time. Thank you. All right. We have heard from witnesses. It's now time for our closing statements. First, we'll hear from the plaintiff. Your last. Closing statements. I know, it's the fewest number of witnesses I've ever had.
Are we ready?
Order my court.
So, ladies and gentlemen, to conclude, Odysseus has ruined many people, containing Calypso, who he used for 7 years just to leave. Polyphemus, who could have avoided conflict with his men, but never told about the bag of winds. Never. And then Polyphemus, he could have avoided conflict. And Aeolus, his men, whenever Aeolus's bag of winds, he could have been home, but he never decided to tell his men, which put them in that bad situation where if he would have told them, they could have been home multiple years earlier. For the following reasons, consider them for the following final decisions of the trial. Odysseus does not follow the traits of an epic hero containing for the following reasons. Odysseus is not sacrificial, one of the 5 traits, because of his habits to give up his men's life like they do not matter. For example, when Odysseus is approaching Celia, he thinks it's only 6 lives and never even wonders if he should take his own life to save one of his men. I just scroll down on the phone. Alright. But also, Odysseus is selfish. Selfish occurs multiple times throughout the book. In situations such as when Eurylochus warns Odysseus to not proceed through Circe's cave, he does not listen, therefore putting his men in a deathly situation. Also, when Odysseus' men urged Odysseus to not explore the Cyclops Island, but Odysseus continued into a situation that killed multiple men, and could have easily been a lot worse. In the end, Odysseus may have committed heroic actions, but these setbacks he is not a hero. You were not here to stop Odysseus from making these outlandish statements, but now here's your chance to put an ordinary man in his place.
All right, defense, closing statements. Time's running.
Is everyone ready? Alright.
No.
Go ahead.
Okay. The trial is over right now. We tell you that Odysseus has over and over acted like a hero. He's always prioritized the greater good. That is the thing. They have consistently conceded the entire trial. Realize that Odysseus has always prioritized the greater good of his men. The Scylla and Charybdis example is a very good example. He realized that if he went into the whirlpool, he is going to potentially kill all of his crew. The better thing to do was that he acted like a hero and he prioritized the safety of his crew, and he just said that I would rather save the entirety of my crew rather than 6 men. This means that as long as Odysseus always prioritizes the greater good, that means he will always count as a hero because he is always wanting to make the greater good and the best of every single situation instead of looking at himself or individual crew members. We also tell you that on Circe's island, that he went back, he didn't really ask for food, he didn't really ask for any of the other stuff that Nolan tells you in his final speech. What he did do was he actually wanted his crew back, and he actually negotiated with a goddess that was even more powerful than him. If anything, we tell you that he is a hero because he, with a more powerful foe, he was actually negotiating for this. But then on Polynices and Poseidon, realize that the entirety of this argument makes no sense. A is because they literally admitted in our cross-examination that because Poseidon actually supports Xenia, that's exactly why Odysseus supported this. On top of this, we tell you that at a point when Odysseus and his crew are literally starving because they do not have any food or any resources, the only logical solution is to go inside the cave and get something. We would tell you that the only way you actually have a more noble person and the only way you actually make sure that Odysseus doesn't get punished for his crimes is if you vote for us, for our side. We tell you that instead of just going into the cave and just listening to his crew members and just leaving, he actually went inside the cave and actually acted like a hospitable Greek member, and he actually performed Xenia. We tell you the entire reason that a lot of his crew members got killed was because of Polynices, and because he didn't really respect Xenia, which his father Poseidon supported. But on top of this, it's really disgraceful for Polynices and Poseidon to literally not agree with their own Greek values that they created. All in all, we tell you their arguments are both counterfactual and counterobjective. We tell you specifically in the book that Odysseus is not only courageous, he is also extremely sacrificial. Go back to what Stephen tells you in the opening speech. He tells you that specifically Calypso offered him immortality. He still sacrificed that because he wanted to go back with his crew and he ensured the livelihood of them to get back to Ithaca. This means, insofar as he always prioritizes his crew and he always prioritizes the good of his crew and is always courageous, this means no matter what they bring up about him being immoral, no matter what they bring up about him sleeping with other women, this means as long as he saves the lives of most of his men, he's always going to be a hero, he's always going to be courageous. Voting for them is voting for a lie. The only way you actually make sure that Odysseus gets what he deserves is if you vote for the defending team.
Order in my court. Please. Councilmen, control yourselves. This is a court of higher power, please. You can't object during closing statements. Hey! Members of the jury, you've heard all testimony concerning this case. It is now up to you to determine the facts. You, and you alone, are the judges of the facts. Once you decide what facts and the evidence proves, you must then apply the law and render a verdict. Please take the sheet of paper you found on your desk when you were here and a writing utensil, and please proceed to the hallway. Stay in outfits, but you can fill your Chromebooks once you're done typing up the sermon over here. Wait, let's go. If you need to be for evidence, feel free.
Ryan, that was good. Ryan. Can I give you the time? Most of his people dodged in the ice level last year. No wonder he's good at that.
He wrote that. You did? You can line both of ours. You can move your line. Let's see if we can do it. Like my left ear. Like my left ear.
Guys, reviewers do not get enough credit.
Kristen, you know my final speech? I went off my head. I didn't write any of that down.
He said that he wanted to save his man. He had that last section. I recorded the whole thing. He didn't even do that. No. Their decisions, right?
I owe Grayson though. But oh, just because we lost.